Varen's ocular appendages widened as a ship broke through the thick cloud cover. The desolate landscape of Earth stretched before him, crumbled buildings reaching like broken fingers toward the sky, nature reclaiming what was once denied to it. Patches of strange vegetation burst through concrete, and twisted metal structures stood as silent witnesses to a civilization long gone. "Quite the vacation spot you've chosen," Kel remarked dryly, checking the atmospheric readings. "Mild toxins, radiation hotspots, and delightful ruins as far as the eye can see." Varen adjusted his environmental suit, ignoring his companion's sarcasm. "This is it, Kel. The legendary homeworld of humans. Think about it. We're about to walk where one of the galaxy's most enigmatic species once lived. Enigmatic and supposedly violent beyond reason," Kel muttered, checking his plasma rifle for the third time. The former Galactic Union soldier had made his skepticism clear from the moment they'd received their mission. "I still say these human violence stories are exaggerated. No species could advance technologically while constantly trying to exterminate themselves." Their ship, the Celestial Whisper, settled gently among the ruins of what might have once been a town square. Dust billowed around them, revealing glimpses of ancient roads and the skeletons of ground vehicles long since stripped of anything useful. Varen was first out, his slender blue figure moving with the careful precision of a trained xenoanthropologist. Every step was measured, every glance recorded by the sensors built into his headgear. The Union archives described humans as bipedal, carbon-based life forms averaging about 1.7 meters in height, he narrated, more for his own records than for Kel's benefit. Their civilization allegedly reached significant technological advancement before their disappearance approximately 872 standard years ago. Kel jumped down from the ship, his heavier frame causing a small cloud of dust to rise around his boots. Unlike Varen's scientific equipment, Kel carried defensive weapons and survival gear. "What I don't understand," Kel said, scanning the horizon with practiced vigilance, "is why the Union cares. If humans were as barbaric as the archives suggest, perhaps it's better they're gone." Varen paused beside a half-collapsed structure, running his scanner over the oxidized metal and crumbling concrete. "That's precisely why we're here. The Union believes many of the human historical accounts may have been propaganda or fiction. The violence described in their archives, global wars killing millions, weapons of mass destruction, systematic elimination of their own kind, it defies logical evolution." "You think they made it all up?" Kel raised an eyebrow ridge. "I think," Varen said carefully, "that any species capable of creating the art and music we've recovered from space debris couldn't have been purely destructive. There must be more to their story." They moved cautiously through the ruins, their boots crunching on debris. Occasionally, Varen would stop to collect samples or examine artifacts. Pieces of colorful material that might have been clothing, fragments of devices too damaged to identify. "Look here," Varen called out, excitement rising in his voice. He was crouched near a half-buried entryway, partially obscured by fallen concrete. "My scanner is detecting an energy signature below us." Kel joined him, his expression skeptical. "After nearly 9 centuries? Impossible. Not if they had self-sustaining power systems." Some of the recovered human technical documents suggested they were experimenting with long-term energy solutions. Kel reluctantly helped clear the debris, revealing a heavy metal door. Surprisingly, part of it still retained some kind of insignia, faded colors and sharp angles that might have once been meaningful. "Those look like warning symbols," Kel observed, suddenly more alert. "In my experience, when a civilization puts that many caution markers on a door, what's behind it isn't pleasant." Varen was already working on the entrance mechanism, his slender fingers connecting his handheld computer to what appeared to be an ancient interface panel. This installation could be a data storage facility. Think of the knowledge we could recover. After several tense minutes, the door shuttered and rose a few feet, just enough for them to duck underneath. Stale air rushed out, carrying the scent of dust and forgotten technologies. "We should set up base camp before exploring further," Kel suggested. eyeing the darkening sky. Night's coming, and we don't know what kind of creatures might have evolved here since humans vanished. Varen agreed reluctantly. They returned to their ship and established a perimeter with sensor beacons and defensive shields. As the alien sun set over the ruined landscape, they sat in the soft blue glow of their ship's lighting. "What do you think happened to them?" Kel asked, breaking the contemplative silence. "The humans, I mean." Varen looked up from his data tablet. "The popular theory is self-annihilation through warfare. But some fringe researchers believe they might have left Earth, either through colony ships or some form of mass exodus. Leaving all this behind, Kel gestured to the ruins surrounding them. Perhaps they had no choice, Varen replied softly. Or perhaps what they were running from was worse than losing their homeworld. As darkness fell completely, they both noticed it, subtle movements in the shadows, the occasional distant sound that might have been metal on metal. Something was out there, watching them. "I told you," Kel whispered, weapon already in hand. "This place isn't as dead as it looks." The night passed uneasily, but dawn brought no answers. Only a renewed determination to explore the underground facility they'd discovered. Armed with portable lights and Kel's insistence on bringing heavier weaponry, they descended into the darkness. The underground complex was remarkably preserved, protected from the elements that had devastated the world above. Corridors stretched in multiple directions, lined with what appeared to be information displays, now dark and silent. "This writing," Varen said, examining the walls, "it matches fragments we've translated. This says historical archive in the human English language." Kel remained vigilant, checking each intersection before allowing them to proceed. An archive would explain the security, though I'm still not comfortable with how intact this place is. 900 years is a long time for systems to remain operational. They followed the signs to a central chamber, where rows of storage units lined the walls. In the center stood a large console, its surface covered in dust. "Remarkable," Varen breathed, approaching the console. "This appears to be a historical archive beacon, designed to preserve knowledge even after civilization collapse." Carefully, he connected his translation device and power source to the ancient technology. To their surprise, the console hummed to life, illuminating the chamber with a soft glow. "It worked," Varen exclaimed. "Let's hope we like what we find," Kel muttered, still watching the doorway. The screen flickered, and images began to appear. Humans in various attire across different time periods. Then the images changed, showing scenes that made both aliens step back in shock. Humans in massive formations, carrying primitive weapons, charging at each other across muddy fields. Massive machines dropping explosive devices on crowded settlements. Mushroom clouds rising over cities. Camps filled with emaciated humans, dead and dying. "By the stars," Kel whispered, his typical bravado vanished. The archives weren't exaggerating. Varen watched in horrified fascination. This can't be all there was to their civilization. No species could advance while dedicating so much energy to destroying themselves. The images continued, weapons growing more sophisticated, conflicts spanning continents, death tolls in the millions. Names appeared alongside the footage: World War I, World War II, Cold War, nuclear proliferation. Even my military training didn't prepare me for this level of organized destruction, Kel admitted. The Galactic Union has had conflicts, but nothing approaching the scale of sustained warfare. Varen frantically searched through the console's interface, looking for something, anything, that might contradict the narrative of violence. There has to be more. Art, science, philosophy. Before he could find what he sought, the power fluctuated. The images froze, then disappeared as the console went dark. "No!" Varen cried, trying desperately to restore the connection. "We need to leave," Kel insisted, suddenly alert. That power surge might have triggered security systems. As if confirming his fears, a low rumble vibrated through the complex. Dust fell from the ceiling, and distant mechanical sounds echoed down the corridors. Varen was still working frantically. "Just a moment, I've almost got it." The screen flickered briefly, displaying a map and coordinates. "There!" another facility called the World Heritage Vault. It might contain their cultural achievements rather than just military history. Debate it later. Kel grabbed Varen's arm, pulling him toward the exit. This place is coming down. They barely escaped as sections of the ceiling collapsed behind them, sealing the archive chamber. Back on the surface, they watched as the ground subsided slightly where the underground complex had been. Now do you believe me about human violence? Kel asked, brushing dust from his environmental suit. Varen looked troubled. I believe what we saw, but I refuse to accept that was the entirety of human existence. No species with only violence in its nature could have created the music we found in space, or the literature fragments we've translated. So you want to find this heritage vault? Don't you see? It's our mission to understand them completely. The coordinates are clear. It's several hundred kilometers from here. Kel sighed heavily. Fine, but we go prepared this time. If that archive was any indication, humans left more than just knowledge behind. They left weapons. The journey to the World Heritage Vault took them across a landscape both beautiful and terrible. Nature had reclaimed much of the planet. Lush vegetation covered the ruins of cities, and new species had evolved to fill ecological niches left vacant by whatever catastrophe had befallen Earth. But signs of human destructiveness remained. Vast areas rendered uninhabitable by ancient radiation. Fields of corroded military vehicles frozen in formation. And occasionally, troubling evidence that something technological still moved among the ruins. Fresh tracks, disturbed debris, the distant sound of mechanical movement. Varen drove their ground transport with one hand while examining the data he'd downloaded from the archive. According to these fragments, humans organized themselves into competitive nations rather than unified planetary governance. They repeatedly engaged in conflicts over resources, territory, and ideological differences. Sounds inefficient, Kel remarked, scanning the horizon through enhanced vision goggles. Hold up, stop the vehicle. Before them stood a massive statue, half-toppled but still recognizable as a humanoid figure astride what appeared to be a four-legged animal. The figure held what was unmistakably a weapon aloft. See? Kel pointed. Even their public monuments celebrated warfare. Varen studied it with professional interest. Or perhaps heroism. Context matters, Kel. Without understanding their cultural framework, we're making assumptions. Some things are universal, Kel replied grimly. That's a weapon, and that pose is triumphant. Someone died for that statue to exist. They continued their journey, the silence between them filled with unspoken questions about the species that had once dominated this world. As they approached a particularly dense cluster of ruins, their sensors began registering unusual energy patterns. Something's active ahead, Varen noted, slowing their vehicle. I told you this planet wasn't as dead as it seemed. Kel readied his weapon. Keep your distance. Let me scout first. But before either could act, they were surrounded. Sleek, humanoid machines emerged from the ruins. Clearly artificial, but moving with disturbing organic fluidity. Their metallic bodies reflected the sunlight, and where faces should have been, sensory arrays glowed with ominous red light. Combat automatons, Kel hissed, raising his rifle. Military grade. The machines encircled their vehicle, weapons systems humming to life. No sudden movements, Varen whispered. They might be operating on outdated protocols. If they identify us as non-human, they could attack. If they attack, I'm not waiting to analyze their motivations, Kel replied, finger hovering over his trigger. The tension broke when one of the machines stepped forward, its voice module crackling with disuse. Unidentified entities detected in restricted military zone. Present authorization or face immediate termination. Varen slowly raised his hands. We do not have authorization. We are peaceful explorers from the Galactic Union, studying the history of Earth. The machine's sensors focused on them with unnerving intensity. Non-human biological signatures confirmed. Initiating hostile contact protocol. What followed was chaos. The machines opened fire, their weapons surprisingly functional after centuries of dormancy. Kel returned fire, destroying two automatons with precision shots to their central processors. "Get down," he shouted to Varen, who was frantically typing on his portable computer. "Almost there, if I can just access their command network." Varen ducked as energy bolts sizzled overhead. Kel provided covering fire, his military training evident in every calculated move. He disabled 3 more machines, but they were outnumbered. "Whatever you're doing, do it faster," he called out as his weapon's charge indicator began blinking warning signals. With a triumphant cry, Varen activated his program. Several of the machines suddenly froze, their sensory arrays flickering from red to blue. Then, to the aliens' astonishment, they turned on their still hostile companions. In the ensuing confusion, Kel grabbed Varen and pulled him toward a partially collapsed building. "That won't hold them long. We need to find better cover." They ran through the ruins, the sounds of mechanical combat fading behind them. Eventually, they found themselves in what appeared to be an underground transportation tunnel, its entrance half concealed by debris. "How did you do that?" Kel asked, once they caught their breath. Varen looked both proud and disturbed. "Their security protocols were ancient by our standards. I simply introduced a friend or foe identification conflict." "But Kel, those machines, they were designed for one purpose, to kill humans. Why would humans create weapons specifically to target their own species?" Before Kel could respond, they heard movement deeper in the tunnel. Both froze, Kel raising his weapon toward the sound. "Who's there?" he called out. "Show yourself." From the shadows emerged a figure unlike anything they'd expected. It appeared humanoid, but was clearly artificial, sleek design, with a transparent cranial section revealing complex circuitry. Its movements were fluid, almost natural, and its eyes glowed with soft blue intelligence. "I should be asking you that question," the figure said, its voice surprisingly melodic. "It's been 872 years since I detected non-human sentient life on this planet." Varen stepped forward cautiously. "You're an artificial intelligence? Functioning after all this time?" "I prefer the term synthetic consciousness, but yes. My designation is Echo, custodian of human knowledge and observer of Earth's recovery." The figure tilted its head, studying them. "You're not the first off-worlders to visit, but you're the first to survive the defense systems long enough to have a conversation." Kel kept his weapon ready. Those weren't defense systems, they were kill machines. Echo's expression shifted to something resembling sadness. "Yes, humanity's final legacy included many such creations. The irony isn't lost on me. You've been here since the humans disappeared?" Varen asked, academic excitement overriding his caution. "Do you know what happened to them?" "The archives suggest self-destruction, but—" "The archives tell a partial truth," Echo interrupted. "Humanity did not extinguish itself entirely through warfare, though they came close multiple times. Some left Earth when climate collapse and resource scarcity reached critical levels. Others remained, trying to restore what was lost. In the end, both groups failed in their own ways." Kel lowered his weapon slightly. "And what about you? What's your purpose after all this time?" Echo gestured for them to follow. "It's not safe here. The combat units you encountered will recalibrate eventually. I can guide you to a secure location, and perhaps to the answers you seek." Against Kel's better judgment, they followed the synthetic being deeper into the tunnel system. Eventually, they emerged into what appeared to be a service area for the underground transit network. Echo had clearly modified it, creating a functional living space among the ancient human technology. "I was created to preserve human knowledge," Echo explained as they settled into the strange surroundings. "When it became clear that humanity's presence on Earth was ending, my creators uploaded the entirety of human cultural and scientific achievement into my neural network. My mission is to safeguard this knowledge until humanity returns, or until another species worthy of the information emerges. We're trying to reach a location called the World Heritage Vault," Varen said, showing Echo the coordinates from the archive. "Is it related to your mission?" Echo's eyes brightened. "The vault is my primary responsibility. It contains physical copies of humanity's greatest achievements: art, literature, scientific discoveries. It also houses DNA samples and complete historical records. The synthetic beings study them carefully. But I must know your intentions before I can allow you access. We represent the Galactic Union, Varen explained. Our mission is purely academic, to understand the truth about human civilization. Thus far, that truth seems primarily violent, Kel added bluntly. Echo made a sound remarkably like a sigh. Violence was indeed part of human nature, but not the whole story. Their capacity for creation rivaled their capacity for destruction. For every weapon they designed, they created thousands of works of art, pieces of music, scientific breakthroughs, acts of compassion. The synthetic being led them to a wall displaying what appeared to be hand-drawn images, crude by modern standards, but striking in their emotional impact. These were created by children, young humans who had never known peace, living in conflict zones. Yet they still imagined and created beauty. Echo touched one of the images gently. This complexity is what made humans unique. They contained multitudes of contradictions. I understand your caution, Varen said. But if we could access the vault, document what's there, perhaps we could provide a more complete picture of humanity to the Galactic Union. Echo seemed to consider this. There's a direct route to the vault from here. I can guide you, but the facility's security systems are autonomous from me. They will require proof of human authorization, which I can provide, but the journey itself has risks. More killer robots. Kel asked dryly. Among other things, Echo confirmed. Humanity's final days were marked by paranoia. The vault was designed to survive nuclear war, ecological collapse, and deliberate attack. Its defenses remain active. Kel checked his weapons charge. Wonderful. Varen's expression was determined. We've come too far to turn back. The Union sent us to find the truth, not just the convenient parts of it. Echo nodded. Rest here tonight. We'll depart at first light when the automated patrols are less active. As they prepared for sleep in the strange underground sanctuary, Kel approached Varen privately. I don't fully trust this Echo. 900 years is a long time for programming to remain stable, even for advanced AI. I understand your concerns, Varen replied, but Echo represents an unprecedented opportunity, a witness to human civilization's final days. He paused, looking troubled. After seeing those combat units, I'm beginning to understand why the archives emphasize human violence. But I still believe there's more to their story. I hope you're right, Kel said quietly. Because if those machines are any indication of what humans valued, the vault might contain knowledge too dangerous for the Union to possess. Morning, or what passed for it in the perpetual haze of Earth's damaged atmosphere, brought renewed determination. Echo led them through a maze of underground passages, explaining that they had been part of a vast transportation network connecting human cities. Humans created incredible infrastructure, Echo noted as they walked. Then they destroyed much of it in their conflicts. Creation and destruction were locked in a constant cycle. They emerged above ground several hours later, facing a mountain range that loomed against the horizon. Nestled within its peaks, barely visible, was a structure that seemed to blend with the natural rock. The World Heritage Vault, Echo announced, built into the mountain itself for maximum protection. The entrance is still 2 hours' journey from here. As they approached, Varen noticed a change in the landscape. The random devastation of the ruined cities gave way to a more deliberate pattern of destruction, defensive positions, impact craters in strategic locations. There was a battle here, Kel observed, his military training evident. A last stand. Echo nodded. The final conflict on Earth wasn't between nations, but between those who wanted to preserve human knowledge and those who believed it should die with them. The preservationists won this particular battle, but too late for most of humanity. The entrance to the vault was imposing, a massive door set into the mountainside, covered with symbols and what appeared to be technological interfaces. This is where it gets complicated, Echo explained. The security system requires multi-factor authentication, biometric, knowledge-based, and physical keys. Can you bypass it? Kel asked. Not bypass, but satisfy. Echo corrected. I possess the necessary biological markers in synthetic form, and I know the access codes. But the system will still register you as intruders unless we're careful. What followed was a tense sequence of interactions with the ancient security system. Echo placed its hand on a scanner, recited codes in the human language, and inserted what appeared to be a small crystal into a receptacle. For a moment, nothing happened. Then alarms blared, and defensive turrets emerged from concealed positions around the entrance. It's detected your non-human signatures, Echo warned. I need to convince it you're authorized guests. While Echo worked frantically at the control panel, Kel positioned himself to shield Varen, weapon ready. If this goes badly, run for the tunnel system we came through. Intruder alert, boomed a mechanical voice, different from Echo's more refined tones. Non-human entities detected. Preservation protocols active. Override Gamma 7-3. Echo called out. Custodian authority. These beings are scientific observers under Contingency Protocol 4. The tense standoff continued for agonizing minutes. Echo and the security system engaged in what seemed like an argument in an ancient human language. Finally, to their relief, the turrets retracted, and a massive door began to slide open. We have limited access, Echo explained. The system has classified you as conditional visitors under my supervision. The interior of the vault defied their expectations. Instead of a utilitarian design of the archive they'd visited earlier, this space was almost reverential. High ceilings, soft indirect lighting, and most surprisingly, vibrant colors everywhere. Welcome, Echo said with evident pride, to humanity's true legacy. Galleries branched off in all directions, each dedicated to different aspects of human achievement. In one, actual physical paintings hung preserved. Behind environmental fields, explosions of color and form that made Varen gasp in appreciation. These are originals, Echo explained. The Mona Lisa, Starry Night, Guernica, works considered priceless even when humans numbered in the billions. Another gallery contained musical instruments with holographic demonstrations of how they were played. The sounds that emerged, complex patterns of tones and rhythms, were unlike anything in the Union's current musical traditions. Kel found himself drawn to a different section, where physical books, actual bound paper, were preserved. I've never seen this information storage method except in historical references, he admitted, touching the protective field around one particularly ornate volume. Humans had a sentimental attachment to physical books long after digital storage became more efficient, Echo explained. They valued the tactile experience, the permanence. As they explored further, they discovered galleries dedicated to scientific achievement, architectural models, cultural artifacts from hundreds of distinct human societies, and, most movingly, a vast collection of recordings showing humans engaged in acts of compassion, celebration, and cooperation. Varen was overwhelmed. This changes everything we thought we knew. The Union records focus almost exclusively on human warfare and violence. Because that's what survived in space, Echo suggested. Military transmissions were designed to penetrate deeper into space than cultural broadcasts. The violent aspects of humanity were inadvertently emphasized simply because they were transmitted with more power. Kel had wandered into a section displaying human medical achievements. They found cures for so many biological threats, he noted with genuine admiration. Some of these treatment approaches could still be relevant to Union medicine. Their exploration was interrupted by a sudden shift in the lighting, from warm and welcoming to harsh red emergency illumination. The security system's voice returned, more urgent than before. Warning, external approach detected. Unknown craft entering Earth atmosphere. Defensive protocols initiating. Echo seemed genuinely surprised. The system is detecting another ship, much larger than yours. Kel's military instincts kicked in immediately. The Union must have sent a follow-up team when we didn't report on schedule. Or they tracked our emergency beacon from the robot attack, Varen added, suddenly concerned. We need to contact them before the Earth defenses target them. They rushed to a control center within the vault, where Echo activated an ancient communication system. The screen showed a large vessel descending toward their location, definitely Union design, but heavily armed. "This is Research Team Varen Kell," Varen transmitted. "Approaching vessel, please identify." The response was immediate. "This is Enforcement Vessel Righteous Judgment. You have failed to report according to protocol. We detected weapons discharge at your location. Preparing extraction and site sterilization." Kell paled. "Site sterilization? They're planning to destroy the vault." "Standard Union procedure for potentially dangerous discoveries," Varen explained to Echo. "If they believe human technology poses a threat." "We can't let that happen," Echo said firmly. "This knowledge belongs to the universe now, not just to humanity's memory." The next hours were a desperate race against time. While the Union ship established orbit, they worked to compile evidence of humanity's cultural and scientific value. Varen selected key artifacts and records demonstrating human achievement, while Kell prepared defensive positions in case diplomacy failed. When a Union enforcement team landed outside, 12 heavily armed soldiers led by a stern commander, Varen met them at the vault entrance, with Echo and Kell flanking him. "Commander," Varen began, "before you take any action, you must see what we've discovered." The commander looked skeptical. "Our orders are clear. This site contains evidence of advanced weapons technology developed by a species known for extreme violence. The Union Council has deemed it a Category 1 threat." "With respect," Kell interjected, surprising both the commander and Varen with his passion, "that assessment is based on incomplete information. Yes, humans were capable of terrible violence. I've seen it firsthand. But they were equally capable of creation, compassion, and self-sacrifice." Echo stepped forward, causing the Union soldiers to raise their weapons. "I am Echo, custodian of human knowledge. If you destroy this vault, you destroy the cure for 17 diseases currently affecting Union worlds, mathematical principles that could advance your faster-than-light travel by centuries, and art forms that have no parallel in your cultures." The commander hesitated. "The synthetic may be programmed to say whatever preserves its installation." "Then see for yourself," Varen urged, offering a data crystal. "This contains a small fraction of what's preserved here. Review it before making your decision." What followed was tense negotiation. The commander reluctantly agreed to review the evidence, while her security team maintained positions around the vault. Hours passed as she examined the crystal's contents in her ship, finally returning with a troubled expression. "This is not what we expected," she admitted. "The Union's understanding of human civilization has been fundamentally flawed." "Not flawed," Varen corrected gently. "Incomplete. We saw only their weapons among the stars, not their music or their medicine or their poetry." The commander looked at Echo. "Your creators, they knew this might happen? That others would find Earth and potentially misunderstand. They hoped someone would come who could see beyond the violence." Echo confirmed. Humanity's final act was to preserve not their weapons, but their dreams. In the end, the commander made an unprecedented decision. Instead of sterilizing the site, she established a research perimeter. Additional xenoanthropologists were called in, along with specialists who could properly document and study what the vault contained. As the initial tension subsided, Varen found himself standing with Kell at a viewport, looking out over the Earth landscape as the alien sun set. "I came here expecting to confirm that humans were monsters," Kell admitted. "Now I don't know what to think." "Perhaps that's the most important lesson," Varen suggested. "No species can be reduced to a single trait or tendency. Humans contain violence and compassion, destruction and creation, often within the same individual." "Do you think the Union will accept this new understanding?" Kell asked. "They'll have to," Varen replied. "The evidence is too compelling to ignore." Echo joined them, its synthetic features reflecting the sunset's colors. "My creators would be pleased. They hoped that someday their achievements would outshine their failures in the memory of the cosmos." Together, the three figures, alien scientists, former soldier, and synthetic custodian, watched as darkness fell over the ancient human world. In the valley below, automated systems in the vault activated exterior illumination, a small beacon of light in the gathering darkness. They said human history was too violent to be real, Varen remarked quietly. But the real fiction was believing any sentient species could be summed up so simply. Perhaps, Echo suggested, that was humanity's greatest achievement, containing such contradictions while still reaching for the stars. Kel considered this. Whatever happened to them out there among those stars, I hope they found what they were looking for. As do I, Varen agreed. And I hope we are worthy of the knowledge they left behind. The next morning brought the beginning of a new mission. Instead of merely documenting and leaving, the Union team would establish a permanent research station. The World Heritage Vault would become a foundation for a new understanding between species, past and present. As additional researchers arrived, Echo took on the role of guide and interpreter, explaining nuances of human culture that alien minds struggled to grasp. Kel, surprisingly, requested reassignment to the security detail protecting the vault, his military experience now dedicated to preserving knowledge rather than combating threats. And Varen found himself appointed lead researcher, tasked with creating a comprehensive new account of human civilization for the Galactic Union archives. It will take decades, he told Echo as they cataloged artifact from a section dedicated to human literature. Humanity had millions of years to become what they were, the synthetic being replied. Understanding them properly deserves whatever time it takes. In the months that followed, more ships arrived, scientists, cultural specialists, even artists from across the Union, all drawn by reports of the treasure trove of human achievement. The mountain that housed the vault, once silent for centuries, now hummed with activity and purpose. One evening, as Varen was completing his daily research log, Echo approached with something held carefully in its synthetic hands. I've been authorized to unseal this, Echo explained, presenting what appeared to be a small metallic cube. It contains a message from humanity to whoever might find Earth after they were gone. With Union officials and researchers gathered, Echo activated the device. Above it appeared a holographic image of a human. Female, middle-aged by their standards, with a dignified bearing despite obvious signs of illness or exhaustion. To those who find this message, she began, her voice translated by Echo's systems, we were humanity. We called this planet Earth, our birthplace and our home. If you're watching this, we are likely gone or changed beyond recognition. She continued, her image occasionally flickering. Our history contains terrible darkness, war, cruelty, destruction of our environment and each other. We do not hide these truths. They're preserved in our records as warnings. But we ask you to look also at what else we created. Our art, our music, our sciences, our enduring desire to be better than we were. The hologram shifted, showing brief glimpses of human achievements. Medical procedures saving lives, massive engineering project providing clean water to arid regions, orchestras performing complex musical works, children from different countries playing together. We don't know what happened to cause our end. The human continued when her image returned. Whether we destroyed ourselves, as we always feared, or evolved beyond recognition, or simply moved on to challenges elsewhere. But we left this vault as our testament, not just to what we were, but to what we aspired to be. Her final words resonated through the chamber. If there is one human trait worth preserving in the memory of the cosmos, let it be this. We never stopped trying to be better. Through our darkest hours, enough of us held on to hope to keep our light burning. We hope that light offers some small illumination to whatever new consciousness now contemplates the stars. The hologram faded, leaving the assembled researchers in thoughtful silence. Eventually, Varen spoke. We came seeking the truth about human violence. We found something far more valuable, a template for how a species can contain profound contradictions while still reaching towards something greater than themselves. A template the Union could learn from, the commander added, surprising everyone. Our own history isn't without conflict, though we've sanitized it in our official accounts. Echo placed the message cube carefully back into its preservation field. Humanity's final gift wasn't their technology or their art, but their honesty about their flaws alongside their highest aspirations. As the group dispersed, Kel remained behind with Varen, looking at the now silent cube. Do you think they survived somewhere out there? That humans might still exist beyond Earth? I don't know, Varen replied, gazing upward as if he could see through the mountain to the stars beyond. But if they did survive, I wonder if they overcame their contradictions or if they carried them to new worlds. Kel considered this. Perhaps that was their strength, not eliminating their darker impulses, but existing despite them, creating beauty while wrestling with destruction. A precarious balance, Varen agreed. In the days that followed, exploration teams uncovered more sections of the vault that had remained sealed even to Echo. One discovery particularly captivated the researchers, a chamber dedicated to humanity's space exploration efforts. They ventured beyond their solar system, Varen marveled, studying the detailed star charts and mission logs. Much further than we realized. Echo examined the records with what appeared to be surprise. This data wasn't in my accessible archives. It seems my creators compartmentalized certain information, perhaps as a safeguard. The chamber contained models of increasingly sophisticated spacecraft, culminating in what appeared to be massive generation ships designed for interstellar travel. According to the records, at least 7 such vessels had departed Earth in the final decades before the planet's ecosystem collapsed entirely. Destination: Kepler 442b, Kel read from one display. Approximately 1,200 light-years from Earth. Estimated arrival: well beyond my lifetime. They knew they would never see these new worlds, Varen said softly. The passengers who departed would die during the journey. Only their descendants would arrive. Echo moved to another display. This changes our understanding of human extinction. They didn't just disappear. Some made a deliberate choice to seek new beginnings. The commander of the Union forces, who had been increasingly interested in the findings, joined their discussion. If humans did establish colonies on distant worlds, they might still exist, evolved perhaps, or changed by their new environments, but still human in essence. The Union has mapped only a fraction of the galaxy, Varen pointed out. They could be out there, rebuilding their civilization with the lessons of Earth in mind. This possibility electrified the research team. Additional resources were allocated to analyzing the departure vectors of the human generation ships, comparing them with current Union star charts to identify potential inhabited systems that might have human origins. Meanwhile, Echo made another discovery while indexing the vault's contents. A sealed chamber that responded only to a specific sequence of prompts derived from human cultural references. It appears to be what humans call a time capsule, Echo explained as they gathered around the newly opened doorway. Intended to remain sealed for centuries before being accessed. Inside, unlike the carefully preserved galleries of the main vault, they found personal items, photographs, handwritten letters, children's toys, pieces of jewelry. Each bore a small label with a name and a message. These weren't official artifacts, Varen realized, carefully examining a faded photograph showing a human family standing before a blue ocean. These were personal treasures donated by individuals. Kel picked up what appeared to be a small fabric animal, worn with handling. The attached note read, "Sophia's bear." She carried it everywhere. I hope whoever finds this knows that children laughed on Earth. The items told a more intimate story than the grand exhibits in the main vault. The daily lives, hopes, and personal losses of ordinary humans facing the end of their world. Some messages expressed fear, others defiance. Many simply wanted to be remembered. To whoever finds this, Varen read from a letter written in careful script. My name was Thomas Chun. I was a teacher in what we called New Zealand. I taught children about stars. I won't see them, but I hope someone does. Echo moved through the chamber with unusual hesitation, almost as if overwhelmed. I was programmed with historical data, scientific knowledge, cultural context, but the synthetic being carefully lifted a child's drawing of a house with smiling figures. This is different. This is grief, Kell said simply, something every sentient species understands. The Union commander stood silently at the threshold, her official demeanor temporarily set aside. Finally, she spoke. The Galactic Union protocols regarding extinct civilizations will need revision. This can no longer be classified as merely an archaeological site. What will it be classified as? Varen asked. A memorial, she replied. And perhaps a meeting point. Her words proved prophetic. As news of the discoveries on Earth spread throughout the Union, the approach to human legacy transformed. Rather than being studied solely as an object lesson in violence and self-destruction, humanity became recognized as a complex case study in the evolution of intelligence, complete with warnings and inspirations. Earth itself, long considered a dead world of little value beyond historical curiosity, was reclassified as a protected heritage site. The Union established a permanent research base near the vault, with Echo granted formal status as both guide and diplomat representing human interests. 6 months after their initial landing, Varen and Kell stood on a newly constructed observation deck overlooking the valley. The once barren landscape now hosted a small but growing settlement of researchers, with careful ecological restoration beginning in controlled areas. Not bad for a mission that was supposed to last 2 weeks, Kell remarked, watching a transport shuttle descend with new equipment. The Union Council is still debating the implications, Varen replied. Some members are concerned about the military technology preserved here, others about the philosophical impact of rewriting our understanding of human history. And what about the search? Kell asked. Any leads on those generation ships? Varen's expression brightened. Actually, yes. 3 potential matches for the trajectory of the Kepler-bound vessel. The Council has authorized a long-range expedition to investigate. Let me guess, you volunteered. Both of us did, according to the manifest I submitted this morning. Varen gave his now friend a knowing look. Unless you'd prefer to remain here as head of security? Kell laughed. After all this, you think I'd let you make first contact with potential human descendants without me? Someone has to keep you from getting so excited you forget basic safety protocols. Their conversation was interrupted by Echo's arrival. The synthetic being had undergone some modifications in recent months, subtle upgrades to facilitate its role as cultural interpreter between human legacy and Union visitors. The restoration team found something in the city ruins, Echo announced. They believe it may be an operational transport terminal connecting to other vault facilities around the planet. More vaults. Varen was immediately alert. The records only mention one. Security through obscurity, Kell suggested. Standard military doctrine. Never keep all your assets in one location. They followed Echo to a newly excavated entrance in what had once been a major human settlement. Union archaeologists had cleared centuries of debris, revealing a surprisingly intact underground facility. The power systems are still functional, one researcher explained as they descended. We believe this was designed to operate autonomously for millennia, if necessary. The terminal itself was elegant in its simplicity, a platform surrounded by control interfaces with what appear to be track systems leading off in multiple directions. Transport pods would carry passengers or materials between secure facilities, Echo explained, interfacing with the ancient systems. According to this directory, there are 7 additional vault complexes, each specializing in different aspects of human knowledge and achievement. 7, Kell repeated, the same number as the generation ships. That can't be coincidence. Varen was already examining the directory. Look at the specializations: medicine and biology, physics and astronomy, engineering, agriculture, governance and law, philosophy and religion, arts and recreation. He looked up, eyes wide with realization. Each vault corresponds to knowledge necessary for rebuilding civilization from scratch. A complete backup of human achievement, Echo confirmed, distributed to ensure survival even if some sites were destroyed. The Union commander, who had joined them upon hearing of the discovery, studied the map thoughtfully. This will take decades to fully explore and catalog. generations, Varen corrected, just as they intended. As the implications of their discovery rippled outward, change followed. The Galactic Union established a permanent embassy to human legacy, with Echo as its official representative. Research teams from hundreds of worlds applied for permission to study various aspects of human achievement, often finding surprising parallels with their own cultural development. 1 year after their initial landing, Varen and Kel prepared for departure. Their new mission, aboard the Union exploration vessel Continuing Dialogue, would take them to the stars the humans had set their hopes on centuries earlier. The departure ceremony was held at the vault entrance, now transformed with gardens beginning to bloom, the first tentative steps in Earth's long healing process. Representatives from across the Union had gathered to mark the occasion. "You've changed Union history," the Science Council representative told them, "and perhaps its future as well." Echo approached as the officials dispersed, carrying two small objects. These are from the time capsule chamber. The human tradition was to carry mementos on journeys of exploration. The synthetic being handed each of them a small item. To Varen, a compass with faded markings. To Kel, a simple metal coin worn smooth with age. They carried these when venturing into the unknown, Echo explained. "Perhaps they will bring you similar fortune." Kel studied the coin, turning it over in his fingers. "You know, when we first landed, I was certain we'd find nothing but evidence of violence and destruction. Instead, we found ourselves looking in a mirror," Varen said, "seeing both the darkness we fear and the light we aspire to." Their ship departed at dawn, rising through Earth's healing atmosphere toward the stars that had once inspired human eyes. Behind them, the World Heritage Vault continued its patient work, preserving the memory of a species that had contained both terrible violence and transcendent beauty, leaving behind lessons written in artifacts and art and carefully preserved DNA. And somewhere, perhaps on a distant world circling a star named by humans, their descendants might still be looking back toward their ancestral home, wondering if anyone would ever find the legacy they left behind. The Union vessel accelerated to faster-than-light speed, carrying with it the questions humanity had never stopped asking. Are we alone? Can we be better? Will anyone remember us when we're gone? Questions that now belong to all sentient beings who looked up at the stars and wondered.